Okay, please remember that in this class, it is impossible to somehow give you every single type of problem that they're going to give you. You can't do it. So what you're learning to do is, hey look, brand new problem, never seen anything like it before. And you just say, who cares? There's got to be something in the problem that will remind me of a flashcard. Really. Or there's something in the problem that just kind of jumps out and says, oh, I think I could do this. Keep reminding yourself, you only need to know step one. Once you know step one, don't worry about step two, but not until we've done step one. So as you look at this problem, please raise your hand and tell me, can you think of a step one or a flashcard? Brad? Again, don't watch me do problems. It's no good. This is 25. Yeah. So what I'm trying to teach you is how to solve problems, not DApps, right? How to solve problems. You can succeed in any class. When you look at the problem, all you're trying to do is either think of a flashcard or think of just something that makes sense. Like, oh, I think I should do this. But you only need to worry about step one. Stop worrying about step 2, 3, and 4. Just worry about step one. So you can either think of a flashcard or a first step that you do that seems logical. Brandon, feel free to talk to each other. You're good. Okay, comment on Jackie's comment. Look, it is very normal in this class to say, well, my thought for step one makes sense to me. I know it's not illegal, it's a legal step. I don't really know if it will help. That's very normal. I have solved hundreds of AP problems with that exact same thought. Like, well, I think this makes sense. Let's see where we go. So who's got a step one? Come on, hands. Step one, hands. Adam?
You have to find the f, the function of -3.
What function of -3?
Like on the graph of an x, you have to find what the slope is at -3.
So we actually do have to do that, but I'm very curious how you knew to do that.
Because you have to find, because b of x equals g of f of x, so we're going to have to find the f of x in order to find g of x.
So you want to find f of, like you're, so if you're saying this says -3, so we need to go find f of -3?
Yeah.
I don't know that I actually need this because it's not asking me to find b, it's asking me to find b prime. So this would help me find b, but it won't necessarily help me find b prime. 2 points though. So what's a logical first step? Let's go, Danny. So tell me why you're thinking that. So I certainly can write this equation. Absolutely, it's linear, it's pretty easy. I could take the derivative and find f prime. I'm still confused as to how that's going to help me find b prime of 3, of -3. If you don't know, it's okay, just say I don't know. But oh, hold on, hands down. Just 1 second. Okay, I like to pay tickets for comments that really lead to like big ideas. You're making a mistake, which is no big deal. The mistake you're making is really common. So they're paying you a ticket to point it out. A lot of people look at this and they'll think the derivative of this is just g prime f prime. And that's incorrect. So don't do that. So first thoughts. Let's go, Emma.
I found the derivative of b of x by taking the chain rule.
Okay, to me, look up. To me, that is an extremely logical first step. Here's why. I have seen many, many AP problems, you have already, where they'll give you an equation for B, and they'll say, go find B prime. And your first step is take the derivative of B. So, B looks like this. Now, Danny was going this direction, just made a mistake, no big deal. So we got G of F. So who thought, like Emma, that we should take the derivative of hands? 2 points, 3 for Emma. Okay, not valuable in this class to watch what I do, only valuable if you think with me. So who knows what I'm going to write next? Hands. What am I going to write next, Mario?
Would you write G prime from F of X?
And then F prime of X to the side as well. Right?
Multiplied by F prime of X. That's the chain rule. That's the chain. How many do that? 2 points, 3 for Mario. Jacob.
Wait, why though?
So look on your green sheet. On the rule that says chain rule. If that doesn't help, keep talking.
No, what if it was like, X of G of X?
I'm going to write it down. Hold on.
Okay, no, it makes sense.
So you're good now? That's your example.
If it was like K of F.
So you got to say something equals something.
B prime of X equals K of G of F. If it's 3 instead of 2.
Oh, like you want to say B of X is equal to like K of F
Exactly.
of G.
Could
Like
that ever
that.
happen?
Wow.
That is nasty.
I've never seen this happen on the AP test. I would have to spend some time to just see if I could do it. I'm not sure. I think it's, I'd have to play with that. Point. Other question? Awesome. Remember, you do one little step, then you go back to looking at the whole problem to figure out what step 2 is. You don't know step 1, 2, and 3 ahead of time. All you know is, hey, this made sense. So now, what would be a next logical thing? Hands up, come on. Don't just stare at the problem. Identify what are we trying to find, and how does what we have found help us find what we're looking for? What's the next logical step? Let's go, Connor. Yeah, we're supposed to find B prime of -3, so they're telling us the X value we want is -3. So that X goes, remember, in an equation, if you make X one value, it's that same value everywhere. So, B prime of -3 How many knew that? 42. Question? Please.
I just wanted to say, so this is one of those ones where they get kind of confusing by giving the graph, right? It's like usually they wouldn't give you the graph like this, or at least they haven't seen it a whole lot.
We haven't seen it a whole lot as a fair statement.
Is the graph useful?
Yes, it is.
Yes, the key thing is this. Hey, you're saying a really good thing, Chef. Look, hold on. Time for payment. Look. Okay, the key thing that Shem is noticing is this. Everybody notice. Everybody notice. Look. You just get used to the fact that in an AP problem you are not going to know step 1, 2, 3, and 4. We knew step 1. And once we wrote down step 1, step 2 became a little more apparent. So we wrote that down. And now we gotta decide what step 3 is. But it's many, many AP problems. I don't have any idea what all the clues are for until I eventually use them. Yeah.
Or whether or not they are clues.
Well, exactly. Although I do know this. Sorry. I do know this. 99% of the time, you will use every single clue they give you. It is very unusual to not use a clue. The exception to that is the word differentiable. I've seen the word differentiable in many problems where I don't ever need to worry about it. But otherwise, I use every clue almost always. What's that? Well, like I said, 99 out of 100. So here, Greg.
I just had a question about the problem. So if during the word problem, like when you read the question, if it said b prime of x is equal to the -3 at the end, would you just plug in -3 on the left side and not?
I have to write down what you said, so you go.
So at the end of the question, it says b prime of -3. But if it were to say b prime of x is equal to -3, would you only plug that in for the left?
That's a good question. If they gave this as a clue, you would know that up here you could put a -3 here.
Okay.
Yeah. Corey? So now what? Hands, come on. Hands. What do we do now? Go, Dave.
That's something like -3 is just 1.
So K went here to F, comes over here to -3. It says right there on F, the x coordinate's -3, and the y coordinate is 1. So that's progress. That's good. We can change this now and say this is going to equal g prime of 1 multiplied by f prime of -3. That's really good. Anybody else see that? 2 points, 3 for Kate. So what does the symbol f of -3 mean? At x equal -3. So he simply looked at the graph of f, found the middle. It's right here. Came over to 1, 2, 3, so there's -3. So you just say, hey, that y coordinate's 1. So f of -3 is 1. It's 1.
So, how did you know that B and F, the graph of the line of B and F are equal? It says B of X equals G of F of X.
Oh, he doesn't know that. Yeah, they're not. He's not doing inequality.
Oh.
What he's doing, Amanda, look. He's looking at this. He's noticing that buried inside of this thing is a symbol, f of -3. You tell me, what does that symbol inside there mean?
On the graph at X equals -3.
Yeah, this means the y coordinate on the graph of f, where x is -3.
Oh, and he found that.
And he found that y coordinate to be 1, so he now knows that this symbol is exactly the same thing as 1.
Oh,
Is that
okay.
your question?
Yeah.
2 points.
Wouldn't f prime of -3 be 1/3? Because it's a straight line, and secant slope is going to be the same as just rise over run, 1/3.
So what Harrison is noticing is, this is linear. So the slope at every, this is what Danny said earlier, the slope at every single point is the same. Function is linear. So he just says, well, I learned in 8th grade that if I draw a little triangle, you laugh because you remember doing it. Right? You draw a little triangle, you go, oh yeah, going over 3 up 1. So this slope is 1/3. So f prime okay, points for the whole room. Answer this question. Come on. Look, answer this question. We were looking for f prime of -3. And I wrote over here f prime of x is 1/3. How does this help me find f prime of -3? Hands. Why? I wrote here that f prime of x is 1/3. How does that help me find f prime of negative 3? Sorry. Jared.
So, because f of x is linear, wouldn't the tangent slope just be the same as 1/3?
Outstanding. I could write f prime of 1 is 1/3. I could write f prime of 6 is 1/3. I could write f prime of negative 3 is 1/3. It doesn't matter. The slope's not going to change. I mean, you got a point to compare. Emma, please. Hands up, now what? Let's go Morgan.
I need to find g prime of 1.
I need to find g prime of 1. So how do I do that, Morgan?
You need to find the slope, or the point, the slope on the tangent line. Sorry.
Your thinking is good. You just got to get your words better. Say it again. You're good.
You need to find the slope on the tangent line.
Let me say it back to you a little bit better. This means the slope of g. So here's g, where x is 1. So here's x equal 1. Here's g. So I'm looking for this slope right here. Okay, but because this line is tangent to g at that point, the slope of this line will be the same as the slope of g. So you all should understand the following statement. The slope of g at x equal 1 is exactly the same thing as the slope of a tangent line to g at x equal 1. Those are different words and they're different things, but they are equivalent.
So you shouldn't write. So in those two things that you just wrote, you shouldn't write the slope of g prime at x equals 1 because g prime is a slope. It's not the line that you're trying to find the slope of, right?
I have to say it back to you. You would not want to say the slope of g prime because that's something completely different. This g prime is some other function. We don't even see, like you cannot see g prime in this picture. This is a line tangent to g, it is not g prime. You can see g, you can see a line tangent to g over here, but
Isn't g prime just the derivative of g?
g prime is the derivative of g, meaning it's a totally different formula. It's some other formula that can be used to compute any of these slopes.
Okay, so
But g prime is not visible in this problem.
G prime is just a formula to find a tangent slope. It's
On
not
G.
a tangent slope itself.
That is correct. Everyone hear that? Listen. Take it for that one. Look. G prime is not a tangent slope. G prime is a formula for finding any of the tangent slopes on G. G prime is not a tangent line. G prime is not a tangent slope. It is a formula for finding any tangent slope on G. And we don't have access to that in this problem.
Is there any universal symbol that symbolizes a tangent slope, or do we just write tangent slope?
The symbol is this, right here. So this symbol right here, g prime of 1, means the tangent slope of g at an x-coordinate of 1. That's what that means.
Okay, so I just have a question, not a actual question, but on the point on the graph of f prime at x equals 1, would the y value of f prime be -1 now? Because the
So back up a minute, Emma.
tangent
I'm not sure your question because we have no picture of f prime on
Yeah,
this.
no, I'm just, it's not in regards to this.
Oh,
I
keep
just-
talking
it's
then,
just
keep
like a
going.
concept.
Say it again.
That question.
Say it one more
So
time.
at x, so we know that the tangent slope of f at x equals 1 is -1/2, right?
Slow down for a second. The tangent slope of what?
G of x,
So the tangent slope of g,
yeah,
where?
at x equals 1.
So this is what you're saying. This tangent slope of g at x equal 1 is what value?
-1/2.
-1/2. Pause for a second. I'll make sure everybody else can see it. Please raise your hand if you are 100% comfortable. Look at the words. Okay, remember the words slope and tangent slope are interchangeable. They mean the same thing from this point onward. We don't ever use slope from this point onward to mean secant slope. It means tangent slope. One second, Matthew. So it says right here, the slope of g at x equal 1. Emma said that slope is -1/2. Raise your hand if you can see that. You can see that this tangent slope of g at x equal -1 has a value of -1/2. 2 points. Hold on a second. I'm going to stay on stop. 2 points. 2 points. Keep going now.
Okay, well, so my question is not for number 25, it's just a
Okay.
question. So if we know that the tangent slope is -1/2, we know that that is a value on somewhere on the graph of g prime, right?
Yes, some are very specific.
So on the graph of g prime, do we know that at x equals 1, then it's -1/2?
Yes. Hey. Look over here. Come up, look. Outstanding. Perfect. The whole idea of this class is like you just have to keep seeing all the connections. Your connection is perfect. She said, you know, and she knew, look, she knew it wasn't needed for this problem. But she recognized that if we were to go make a graph of G prime, we'd go to x equal 1, and there would be a y coordinate. If this is the graph of G prime, look back here, it's what Emma asked. Look at what we wrote right here. Look at what we wrote. If we were actually making a graph of G prime, hands up. Who knows where the y coordinate belongs on the graph of G prime? Where does the y coordinate belong, Matthew? -1/2. There's a dot right there. And even though you didn't need to know this in this problem, I can guarantee you on the AB test you will need to know that for some problem. Like you have to know that that symbol, we've said it for weeks now, this symbol G prime has 2 meanings. It's talking about the tangent slope or slope of G right there. But it's also talking about the y coordinate on G prime right there. It's perfect. So how many got this one? 0.2 for Matthew. So we're done. Question, please.
So I get that like G prime is to find like the tangent slope of any x coordinate on G. But for f, when we're looking to find f of 3, f of -3, you got the y coordinate of 1. I'm just wondering like why.
Oh, because that's what the symbol f of -3 means. Yeah, the symbol f of -3 means the y coordinate on the graph of f where x is -3. Does that make sense?
It's just x.
They're just x. Like, think of this way, man. Look at this. When I write f of -3 equals 1, that's equivalent to saying this. Does that make sense? Yeah. questions here? Cool.